Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the essential rules for flying a drone in Japan. We're going to be focusing specifically on the country's main aviation law. So, if you're even thinking about flying a drone there, you're going to want to stick around. This is the stuff you absolutely need to know.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture, the why behind all these rules. Then we'll get right into the nitty-gritty, covering everything you need to know before those propellers even think about spinning.
So first up, let's set the stage a little. Why does Japan have such detailed drone laws anyway? Well, it all kicks off with just how much potential this technology has.
I mean, Japan's own Ministry of Transport calls this stuff a revolution in the sky. And you can totally see why, right? Drones are already out there doing everything from shooting stunning aerial videos to inspecting bridges and even handling logistics. They are changing the game.
But, and there's always a but, all this newfound freedom in the sky comes with some very real risks. We're talking about things like airport shutdowns because a drone got too close, and of course, accidents. And that is exactly why Japan's aviation law got a major update, to find that sweet spot between encouraging innovation and keeping everyone safe.
Okay, so this next part is super important. We have to figure out what the law actually calls a drone, because it's not just any old flying gadget. The official term is unmanned aircraft, and believe me, it has a very specific legal definition.
The law basically boils it down to three key things. 1. It's built in a way that no person can get inside it. 2. You fly it either with a remote control or it flies itself on a pre-programmed path. And 3, and this is a big one, it has to meet a minimum weight.
And that magic number is 100 grams. If your drone, and get this, that includes the weight of the battery, weighs 100 grams or more, then all these rules we're talking about, they apply to you. If it's lighter than that, it's considered a model aircraft, which falls under a whole different and much more limited set of regulations.
All right, let's get to the absolute heart of Japan's drone law. It's a concept called the specific flight, or in Japanese, tokute hiko. If you understand this one thing, you're halfway to flying legally.
So what on earth is a specific flight? Well, it's the official name for any flight that's got strict rules attached to it, and almost always needs you to get permission from the government first. And it all comes down to two simple things: where you fly or how you fly.
Let's talk about the where first. Your flight automatically becomes specific if you're in certain no-fly zones. This includes the obvious stuff, like anywhere near an airport, but also airspace that might be needed for emergency helicopters, flying 150 meters or higher, and, this is a huge one, flying over what are called densely inhabited districts, or DIDs.
It also becomes a specific flight based on how you're flying. And this list covers a ton of common situations, like flying after sunset, flying so far away you can't see the drone with your own eyes, getting within 30 meters of people or buildings, flying over a concert or festival, yeah, that's a no-go, carrying anything dangerous, or dropping anything at all from the drone.
So let this sink in, because it's the most important takeaway. If your flight plan ticks even one of those boxes, either a restricted place or a restricted method, bam, it's a specific flight, and it is flat out prohibited unless you get the green light from the Ministry of Transport.
Now, here's where things get really interesting. The law is smart. It doesn't just lump all specific flights together. It actually sorts them into 3 different categories, and it's all based on how much risk is involved, especially to people down on the ground.
Okay, let's break this down. Category I is easy. That's any flight that is not a specific flight, so no special hoops to jump through. The real action happens between categories 2 and 3. Now, both of these are specific flights, but the key difference is all about whether you can secure the area right under your drone. Category 2 is where you can take steps to keep people who aren't involved with your flight out of the way. But Category 3, that's the highest risk. That's when you're flying over people and you haven't or simply can't block off the area below.
All right, last but not least, let's talk about your responsibilities as a pilot. You have a list of duties you've got to follow on every single flight. And trust me, the law has some pretty sharp teeth if you ignore them.
The law lays out some basic, common-sense safety rules for every single pilot. Number 1, and this is a big one, absolutely no flying under the influence of alcohol or drugs. You also have to do a pre-flight check on your gear, you have to actively try to avoid hitting anything, and you can't fly in a way that's just a nuisance to people. Oh, and if something does go wrong, you have to report it.
And this just shows you how seriously they take all this. The penalties are no joke. Flying a drone that isn't registered or flying under the influence could land you in prison for up to a year, on top of some hefty fines. Even just breaking one of the specific flight rules could cost you up to 500,000 yen. These are not suggestions, folks. They are serious, legally binding rules with major consequences.
So what's the bottom line here? Before you even think about taking off, just run through a quick mental checklist. Do you know your drone's weight? Have you figured out if you're about to make a specific flight? Have you checked the airspace, the time of day, and who's around you? Just asking yourself these simple questions is the first and most important step to being a safe, responsible, and legal drone pilot in Japan.